Hey, what's up, you guys? Barry Barber here to help you build strength and nutrition habits for a life well lived. And today, I'm back in Parque Obrero. That's him, El Obrero, right there over my head. And today, I'm here to show you the 4 movement patterns that you need for a life well lived. If you can master these 4 movement patterns, you'll have the strength and the mobility in just about any situation to be resilient and move freely throughout life, however you choose to do that, right? So you'll have the strength. You'll be able to use these movement patterns to maintain your body, maintain a healthy and strong body, and then use that body however you choose in your life, right? So without further ado, let's get into the video. 4 movement patterns. You only need 4. It's that easy. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so the first exercise, the first movement pattern that I believe is necessary for a life well lived is, of course, the squat. So, for the purposes of this video, we're going to define the squat as hip flexion, knee flexion, and dorsiflexion of the ankle and extending all 3 of those joints. So, you're flexing all of those joints at the same time and you're flexing them all at the same time. You can either use it under a load or without a load. So, and there are a ton of different variations. You can do single leg, you can do uh, both legs like you see me doing here. You can do a front squat, you can do a back squat, you can do an overhead squat. There are a whole bunch of different squats. Single leg squat, lunges, I'll even throw lunges in there. There are a whole bunch of different variations you can do. Just as long as you're doing hip flexion, knee flexion, and dorsiflexion at the ankle, we're going to call it a squat. And this movement pattern is definitely something you want to master for a life well lived. Squatting is actually one of our natural movement patterns, right? It's how before toilets were invented, we actually used the bathroom, right? And around the world in many cultures, it's used as a position of rest. The deep squat position is used as a position of rest. So it's a position that comes naturally to us, and it has great crossover appeal. Like, you're building strong legs, strong knees, strong ankles, right? And who doesn't want to have strong legs as you move through life, right? I feel like having strong legs is definitely a great asset if you want to live a life well lived. So that's why we say over here at Barry Barbell that the squat movement pattern is one of the 4 essential movement patterns for a life well lived. The next one is a hinge, the hip hinge. And for this video, for the purposes of this video, we're going to define the hip hinge as hip flexion, right? So right now you see me flexing my hip doing a Romanian deadlift. The key to any hip hinge movement is to push your butt back, right? So you're not thinking of bending forward. You're not thinking of, touching the ground or whatever. You're actually thinking of pushing your butt back. And as you push your butt back, you let your chest fall into a horizontal position. And then from there, you can squeeze your glutes, press your feet to the floor, and stand up, right? So your glutes, the hip hinge is a great movement pattern to master for stronger glutes. And um, glutes are the muscle that make us human, right? Glutes. I believe humans have the strongest glute strength ratio of any animal on the planet. You can quote me saying that. But like, for real, like, it's our glutes that allow us to stand upright, right? And the fact that we stand up bipedal is what makes us human, right? So having strong glutes is essential for living a life well lived if you intend on remaining human for the rest of your life. And there are a whole bunch of different variations you can do. Romanian deadlift, good morning. Right here you see me doing a conventional deadlift. There's sumo deadlifts. There are all kinds of hip hinge movements, hip hinge exercises you can do to master this essential human movement. So yeah, get after it. The hip hinge. Build some strong glutes and be the best human being that you can possibly be. The next movement pattern that's essential for a life well lived is a pull. And for the purpose of this video, we're going to define a pull as shoulder shoulder flexion. No, yes, this is shoulder flexion, right? So you're pulling your elbows back towards your sides, behind you. That is flexing your shoulders. So you're using your lats and your rhomboids, all the muscles in your back to flex your shoulders, right? Anytime you pull your elbows back towards your body, you're pulling. And this is essential for a life well lived, for healthy shoulders and a strong back. You can do it in the horizontal and the vertical position. So right now you see me doing a bent over row. Earlier you saw me doing some pull-ups, and both of those movements are great for the pull. Next, the fourth and the final movement that is essential for a life well lived is the push, right? So it's literally the exact opposite of a pull. For the purposes of this video, we're going to define it as shoulder extension, right? So anything that brings your bicep closer to your ear, we're going to define that as shoulder extension. And you saw me doing some dips. Push-ups are another great exercise for shoulder extension. And of course, your overhead press. But anything where you're like pushing something away from you, right, is a push, right? So that's it. Those are the four essential movement patterns for a life well lived, right? Squat, hip hinge, pull, and push. If you do just these four movement patterns, you'll have the strength and the mobility for a life well lived. I guarantee it. So do everything you can in your power to master these four movement patterns, and let's get out of it. Let's get after it. Take care.